Welcome card readers, April here on Tarot and Witchery, and I thought I would do a series on cards that scare us. Maybe they're not, don't necessarily scare us, but they're kind of the more difficult cards in the tarot when they come up. What do you do with them in the reading? I'm going to kind of just talk about my thoughts on them and the growth that I've had from each one of these cards, and maybe some questions that you might want to ask yourself as these cards come up in your readings. Some different ways to look at them, and of course I'll have some different examples as I chat about them. So you may want to break out a notepad and take down some of these questions because I find they really help me when these cards come up in a spread. Today's card is, as you already know by seeing the thumbnail, the Devil. And right here I have got the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith imagery of this card for us to start out with. You know, when this card comes up, you're like, whoa. And I can tell you, when this card comes up in a reading, when I have people in front of me, it often is very shocking. For most of us in the Western world, we have grown up with a mindset around what the devil is because we live in a predominantly Christian culture. And if you grew up in a Christian household, you might have really strong feelings about this. Although this idea of this being that enslaves us, that is horned, is a relatively new idea as far as from a cultural perspective, not very old at all, and certainly not a Jewish idea. Jesus definitely did not have this idea of a devil. Nonetheless, this has permeated our consciousness for many different reasons, and that is my own soapbox that I will not jump up on. So let's stick to the devil. So first of all, let me know down below what your favorite devil card is. What deck has your favorite devil card in and why you like it? We see a lot of the traditional symbolism here. We see that we have two people. They are chained to the devil's throne. They have grown tails from hanging out with the devil so long, and horns, and they have chains around their neck. One of the most important things to note about this card is that the chains are ones that they could lift off themselves, but they choose to stay there. And so a lot of times when the devil card comes up, this is about addictions. And I don't just mean to drugs. There is all sorts of things. We all have addictions. Shopping, watching YouTube, hunting for tarot decks. How about that one as an addiction? There are so many different addictions that we have. And addictive behavior is behavior that is intended to soothe us. So when the devil comes up in our readings, we are looking at the ways in which we are checking out of our life or abdicating our power. Where are we giving our power over to something else in order to make us feel good rather than allowing that power to come from something that's inside of us? Let's take a look right here. Let's just contrast this card right here. This is from, gosh, what is the name of this deck? Oh my God, I put it over here. The New Vision Tarot. Okay, the New Vision Tarot. And it gives us a view of the other side of the throne, as you can see here. And so what we see, you may say oh, look, they could just take the chains off and go. But what are they looking at? They're looking at a wall of fire and these demons that are keeping them from being able to move or do anything else. And so, when this comes up, we may be facing something that feels insurmountable, that feels as though we are unable to overcome it. But these are I usually find that, actually I always find that these are illusory things. These are things in my life that while it may seem like there's a wall of flames around me, there really isn't. Those are just my own fears that are crying out to me. I like this one right here. This is from the Superlunaris Tarot. And you see this, that she's shrouded in this, this sheet, the shroud. I guess I'm repeating myself. This shroud right here. And then there's this demon kind of holding the strings, but it's holding the strings over the sheet that's covering her or his eyes. And it's in this very dark place, a watery place. I think that when the devil comes up, it tends to be a very emotional issue that we're talking about, because most of the time negative self-soothing patterns come from an inability to deal with our emotions, right? So, I mean, the easiest way to look at this is just drug addiction itself, is we have an immediate physical response that allows us to check out or numb or negate what we're feeling. And so we see that sort of depicted here. Hey there, cardomancers. Namir and I just want to jump in here real quick and say, hey, you may want to check out my playlists. I've got all sorts of different playlists. You can look up reviews, you can look up spreads, and you can look up cool things that you can learn. I'm always trying to talk about fun things about tarot and oracle, so check those out. Depicted here, I have in Tarot of the Abyss here. I really like this one. You see that he's tied up. He cannot fly. His wings are, because he is tethered down here to the earth. And here's his heart. This is his heart down here that you see at the bottom in this one. And so a lot of times when the Devil card comes up, I am facing a part of myself where I have tethered myself to the physical realm. Like I've cut myself off from spiritual things, and my world has become very fleshly, I guess, for lack of a better word. I'm really stuck within my own body, and there's a sense of being cut off from, my heart is planted in or rooted in things of the mundane or this world or the earthly plane. Instead of there being a balance, we of course need to be in the earthly plane. We're supposed to be here in the earthly plane. We're supposed to be experiencing this, but we're not supposed to be tethered so that we cannot fly spiritually and touch down and be a part of all the different aspects of ourself, all of our emotional, our physical, our mental, our spiritual bodies, right? Okay, and so we see right here, this is the Fifth Spirit Tarot. I love, love, love this one. And there are these hands. He's like this puppet master. And, he looks kind of like corporate America here. And she's sort of like maybe caught up in, like, to me, maybe some patriarchal ideas. Maybe he's caught up in patriarchal society too. And she's, there's some alcohol there. And I think is he smoking? What is that he's doing? Yes, he's smoking. And they look really phony. I mean, marionettes are kind of phony and scary in their own right, but there's something that feels very phony about them. And so a question to ask is like, am I lying to myself about some aspect of my life? Like, am I lying to myself about this situation and enslaving myself to it? Is something else pulling the strings in this situation and keeping me tethered to an idea of myself that is not actually empowered? Again, when the devil comes up, we are in some way handing over our power to something else instead of stepping up. So conversely, when the devil comes up, it is an invitation to be more powerful, to decide, are you ready to step up and be powerful? Sometimes we're not ready to step up and be completely powerful, and that's okay. I just want to say that if you're dealing with something that's really big and has a lot of strings and it's just really entangled, you may not be able to just cut it off and move on. And even if you do, you're going to have to deal with everything that comes with cutting those strings, because stepping up in our power is not only frightening, but it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of practice and patience and a lot of self-love. So another question to ask, is there an area of myself that I could love a little bit more to help me get free in this area? Here we have Chris Ann's The Light Seers Tarot, and this picture of the devil. And again, he's got the strings and he looks very tormented right here. As you can see, he's just like really tormented. And this dude doesn't look very scary. He doesn't look like your typical devil. And let's face it, most of the temptations that we face in our life, most of the things that we hand our power over to are very alluring. They do not come across necessarily as scary. I always say that things like this addiction or things that we hand our power over to, they're like pet snakes that we keep. And at first we have this little tiny pet snake, and oh, isn't it so cute? It's such a cute little boy. so cute, and we feed the pet snake, and the pet snake starts getting bigger and bigger, and then before you know it, we're simply feeding the snake to keep the snake from eating us. Like, the snake is not cute anymore. The snake is actually scary, and something that we do not want to devour us. And so our addictions can become like that. And we get so used to putting our energy and our time into feeding the snake or the addiction or the mindset that is keeping us held captive, that we feel just almost too tired to move away from that. And then we have here the Tarot of Transformation. Again, I've talked about this in other videos. If you want a copy of this, you better race to get it, because there's just a handful of them left out there. Amazing tarot. Love this tarot of Transformation. So here we have the Devil, and what this represents, the Tarot of Transformation is always what we get out of the card, how we are transformed by the card. And so here we see that we are transformed when we understand our separation from the source, right? And again, I find that when we anchor ourselves in this way, we are keeping ourselves so that we cannot fly in the spirit and in other ways, and we become tethered to an aspect of ourselves or an aspect of fear that we have about something, that we separate ourselves. We separate ourselves from the one, the whole, God, the universe, creation, goddess, or even you can just say self, like the core self if you're an atheist. Whatever your word is, but there's a separation that's happening where you've separated yourself, and it's usually because there's something here in the source, there's something in the wholeness, the oneness of self that we are afraid to face. We are maybe unable to face at the moment because of situations that we're in. Maybe we are programmed not to face an aspect of ourself. And it just takes the willingness and the bravery to decide that, we are going to sever those strings, that we are going to realize that from a spiritual standpoint, we can always walk through fire. We can always walk through that wall and walk to the other side of it and be set free from the things that we are placing ourselves under. That doesn't mean that it's easy. I don't want to say that it is. When the Devil card comes up, it is an invitation to personal power always. So I've really prattled on here for quite some time. I don't want to make these too long. Tell me what you think about this series. And, I really hope that you find that when the Devil card comes up for you, it's a powerful invitation for you to become a better aspect of yourself. And maybe you're only ready to do that by a degree, and that's okay. Like, doing it degree by degree by degree gets us there. We have quite a bit of time in this lifetime to achieve these things, or if you believe in lifetimes, to do so. But here we see that that these are shadows. So this can be your shadow self. And so facing our shadow, what is in the shadow is hidden power. It's parts of ourself that we are, that we haven't accessed yet. But I do want to encourage you, if this is coming up, there's an invitation to personal power. You're getting an upgrade, and it's up to you to decide to take that upgrade and to allow yourself to be transformed by the letting go of fears and the things that you have told yourself that keep you complacent in old patterns that no longer serve your higher self. Thanks so much for being here. If you made it all the way to the end, go ahead and leave me some kind of devil emoji at the bottom. And until we meet again, may you always know that you are never separated from the source. You are always invited to be your higher self in every moment and every day.